Gen V is back this week with episode 7, and as many of us predicted, it turned out that Cipher wasn't truly who he said he was. This episode was all centered around Marie utilizing her powers and falling into the trap that was laid out by not Dean Cipher, but the main man Thoma Godolkin himself. There were visions, there was a love triangle, there was healing, and there was action for what felt like the first time in absolutely ages. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is Gen V Season 2, Episode 7, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Thoma Godolkin was revealed to be in control of Cipher. During this episode, we saw that with Marie leaving Stan Edgar's place, she was going to Dean Cipher's with the intention of finding the wounded and weak Thoma Godolkin because she believed that she'd be able to heal him and then he'd be able to help the group stop Cipher. We saw that Cipher was in a state where he felt like everything was over because the likes of Polarity was able to use his powers against him and prevent the control, and he was even willing to kill Thoma Godolkin, which we know now would have essentially been him ending things for himself because he was actually controlling Cipher. In that moment, he viewed his plan as over and was genuinely willing to free Cipher. However, with Marie, Cate and Polarity being inside of Cipher's home and Godolkin not being there, it essentially aligned with Sister Sage's plan where she mentioned how Marie has a hero complex inside of her and she wouldn't be able to keep away, and that is exactly what ended up happening. Marie made her way to Godolkin beneath the basement of the training room whilst Polarity, Sam, Jordan and Greg were fighting off Cipher, and as Marie went down there, it showed how Cipher was basically making out like he was waiting for Marie as part of a decoy plan and that he truly wanted to find her, when in reality he didn't. Cipher was basically the bait to allow Marie to heal Godolkin and to distract the others. Once Marie healed him, we saw that the hold that he had on Cipher was gone, and he laid there on the floor on the cusp of death, saying, "I'm not him." Cipher was actually a man that was named Doug that was fired from Blockbuster, who Godolkin utilized as a puppet this entire time. This was something that many of us predicted as there were some telltale signs throughout the season, such as Cipher not having any V in his system whatsoever, but I'm glad it's finally out there because we've now met the boss villain of Gen V. When Godolkin awoke, he mentioned how it felt to be rid of the pain that once plagued his body, saying how it's indescribable and that when talking about powers, he said how it comes and goes in this world and that without them, they were nothing. Showing that he was fully on side with the soup supremacy mindset, but one could argue that he's even more extreme than that because he only wants God to walk amongst the world, not circus freaks as he puts it, hence why he ended up killing Hempel. The culling of the herd began with the death of Hempel, and it seemed like he was about to go on and cause a slaughtering on campus like occurred in the Season 1 finale. The piece of dialogue where he mentioned that the value in the world came from powers and that without them they were nothing was something that Cate recognized because those very words were spoken to her by Cipher early on in the season. So she was the person who cottoned on to the true identity of Godolkin and that they've essentially just awoken a monster. The look on Cate's face was one of pure shock and it was powerful to see. Cipher said in the episode, it may be time for a very big sacrifice when speaking with Godolkin, and it's got me wondering who this sacrifice could be. Could it be the likes of Polarity? Or maybe Godolkin might be looking at it like one of Marie's friends needs to go. Or Annabeth did have that vision of Marie. So I wonder if the vision that Annabeth had wasn't supposed to be when she walked in and saw Marie with Godolkin, but maybe it's on a future occasion. Personally, I don't think that Godolkin is going to be defeated in this season of the show. I think and hope he's going to tie into the final season of The Boys. He's essentially God of the Soups, and as we heard, he has the ability to control Homelander if need be. So that's something that I'd love to see happening. I reckon the group will be unsuccessful in stopping him, and their story will continue in The Boys Season 5. Godolkin clearly has some extreme powers too, because not only is he able to be a puppet master, but from his weak, fragile state laying in the bed, he was able to project through Cipher and then, with Cipher, project through many others, showing that there are multiple links in the chain and also just how strong he actually is. Marie's change of mindset and Annabeth's vision. Within this episode, Marie was being pragmatic and wasn't allowing the likes of Cate to persuade her to heal her and bring her powers back. This was because of her core belief in believing that because Cate used her powers against the group, she couldn't be trusted. This was something that Marie stood by right up until she was about to go inside to meet with Cipher. Marie actually used her powers on her own friends in order to render them dazed for a short while so she could get away, and whilst she was holding on to them, she switched her mind and said to Cate that she'd heal her if she used them on their friends to get them to stay away. This showed that not only was she being a hypocrite because she didn't want Cate to have her powers in the first place for that reason, but she was now doing the very thing that she didn't want Cate to do. Yes, it was to protect them, but still, she was wielding her powers over them. Marie ended up healing Polarity in this episode as well, again showing just how strong she was, meaning that he no longer had the tremors, and after being sick for a long while, he was the strongest that he'd ever been. Even seeing her healing Godolkin, that man was on death's door and in constant pain, and she rendered him back to a regular looking person who was rid of the pain and in full control of his powers. The thing that's getting me is the vision that Annabeth had. There was a vision where Marie was lying on the floor in blood, and it looked as though she died. It was made out like this was going to be from the confrontation with Cipher, but I think this could end up being from later on down the line in the finale. The show has been focused on tricking us this season, and I imagine it's probably going to be doing the same here. We know that Marie has just unleashed arguably one of the most powerful soups that there is when it comes to knowledge of them. He's the god. So there's going to be some kind of final battle and confrontation that occurs, and I think this scene is most likely going to stem from there. I don't actually think it's Marie's blood that she's covered in. I think this could be the big sacrifice that Godolkin spoke of when he was in control of Cipher. There's going to be a poignant death in the finale, maybe one of the group. I always felt like Jordan was going to die in this season because of the emptiness that they felt earlier on and the hatred that they were taking upon their shoulders. Godolkin knows just how much Jordan means to Marie, so I wonder if he'll use Jordan as that very sacrifice, and it could be their blood on her. Jordan hasn't featured that much in the most recent episodes, and when they were in the car in this episode, they said that they didn't know if they were with Marie in the way that they thought they were because they always felt abandoned. So I feel like something bad could be coming Jordan's way. Within Annabeth's vision, Marie had a vacant look in her eye, one that we've seen in Cipher before. So I wonder if Godolkin is going to get control of her and utilize her powers to stop the likes of Jordan, or maybe even do a mass culling of the herd. Cate. Cate's arc is one that I thought was going to be centered around betrayal, and even though she picked the side of good in this episode, there's still a part of me that thinks that she might well end up betraying Marie. Or if she doesn't, then she could potentially be on the chopping block. We know that Godolkin is focused on the power that soups hold and that he only wants gods walking amongst them. With Cate not having her powers, she could well be viewed as disposable in Godolkin's eyes, and that could lead her to either flee or be eradicated by him. Or if Godolkin does get control of Marie, he might promise her powers back if she agrees to work alongside him like she was when she was working with Cipher. Cate has the streak of betrayal in her, so it wouldn't surprise me if she did it again, especially if it meant regaining her powers and allowing her to feel like she had purpose again. Emma and Sam. Emma and Sam's arc is the most inconsequential one that there is at the moment. Whilst Sam coming to terms with the mistakes that he made in the Season 1 finale is wholesome, it's just not quite as interesting as everything else that's going on. Plus, as well as that, we're seeing Emma gravitating to Greg, so there's a love triangle that's occurring between the three of them. I think Emma will ultimately pick Sam due to the history that they've got and the connection that she naturally has towards him. My review of the episode. I thought this was probably one of the better episodes of the season. It felt like this season had been lacking action, but this episode threw us into the heart of it, and not only did we get action, but we got the reveals that the most of us had been waiting for. I quite liked the way that Cipher came to as he was about to be killed, but I did think it was very unlike the boys to have Cipher survive and there not be a big joke about him dying. This was also probably the most digestible episode of the season in the sense that it all progressed forward in a way that was easy for it to develop, and it moved from one scene into the other in a seamless way. When it came to the performance of Godolkin, that was something that I was intrigued to see. I didn't know how villainous he'd come across, but he was performed so well. There was a philosophical mindset that he had, and the calm demeanor paired with the pure evil and vicious nature that he had within his core made for great contrast. I'd also say it was good fun watching the likes of Polarity utilizing his powers at full strength for the first time ever. Even Cipher standing there and switching between the likes of Sam, Greg and Jordan, the effortless nature that it had and the lack of control that they had just made me chuckle because it looked so cool and easy. Honestly, I can't believe we've only got one episode left of Season 2. I feel like this final episode is going to be an absolute bloodbath now that Godolkin's on the loose, and I can't wait to see how the finale draws to a close and sets up the final season of The Boys. So, there you have it. Gen V Season 2 Episode 7 Ending Explained. If you want to see every episode of Gen V Season 2 being broken down, then check the playlist below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.